we declare our rank on this earth to be a man, to be a human being, to be respected as a human being, to be given the rights of a human being in this society, on this earth, in this day, which we intend to bring into existence by any means necessary.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Today will be Malcolm X's 100th birthday. And to celebrate, I'm doing episode 1 of Momentous Men, featuring Malcolm X. So, for this series, I'll be going over famous men, mostly black men, and their lives and what they did for the course of history. I also have another series called Warrior Women, where I talk about famous black women and their contributions. Without further ado, let's get started. Malcolm X was born Malcolm Little on May 19th, 1925, 100 years ago today, in Omaha, Nebraska, to an African-American father and a biracial Grenadian mother. Now, Malcolm's father, Earl Little, was from Georgia, but about his mother, Louise Little, it goes that she was born in Grenada to a black mother and a white father, and that she was really light-skinned because her mother, a black woman, was raped by a white man in Grenada. She grew up hating her complexion, so she wanted to marry a dark-skinned man so her children would come out darker than her. In 1931, when Malcolm was 6 years old, his father was murdered by the Black Legion of the KKK. And to make matters worse, his father's death was ruled as a suicide, even though it obviously wasn't, so his family didn't get any compensation for it. And that Malcolm's mother, Louise, later have a mental breakdown, and all of her children have to go into foster homes because she got put in the Kalamazoo mental institution. Malcolm did good in school and wanted to be a lawyer, but all of his white teachers discouraged that opportunity. By the 1940s, as an adult, he moved to Michigan, and he started off as like a gangster and a thief who would rob stores and stuff and commit crimes. And in 1946, he was arrested and sentenced to 8 to 10 years in prison. In prison is when he joined the Nation of Islam, then led by Elijah Muhammad. When joining the Nation of Islam, he got rid of his last name Little, as it was a slave name, and his original last name would be unknown, because with slaves' names, the last names would come from the slave owners, so it wasn't even their name for real, and they would drop those last names and change it to X. He got paroled out of prison and released after 6 years in 1952 and moved to New York City to be a preacher. With this position, he would preach for black rights as being part of the Nation of Islam, or as a devout Muslim. In 1956, he met a nurse named Betty Sanders, who recently moved to New York, and she also attended the Nation of Islam's meetings. They started dating and went on chaperone dates with other members of the nation. Around 1958, he called her on the phone to propose to her, and they got married on January 14th, 1958, in Lansing, Michigan. From 1958 to 65, Malcolm and Betty became the parents of 6 daughters, Attila, Kabila, Ilyasa, Gamila, and twins Malika and Malak. By 1964, he had a fallout with the Nation of Islam and left, and his family would become Sunni Muslims, and he took on the name Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz, Al-Hajj being the title after he completed the pilgrimage to Mecca, which is a very important trip that Muslims have to take. In Mecca, he became acquainted with people of all races that respected each other, which, let's be honest, was not the norm in the 1950s and 60s around that time in America. So this was a really big step up from what he had been used to. Now, Malcolm's fallout with the Nation of Islam had Elijah Muhammad treating him differently and got his nation to try to take out Malcolm. A specific example would be around Valentine's Day of 1965, when that night his family's house was firebombed, and this was an obvious attack on his life, as they were known for harassing him since he left the nation. 1 week later, on February 21st, he was doing a speech at the Audubon Ballroom in New York City, and he invited his family and followers to come see him talk, hear him talk. Right before he gave his speech, a man in the crowd yelled, "Get your hat in my pocket," to the person next to him, and threw off a firebomb on the floor to distract Malcolm's security guards. And when they let their guard down, another man with a shotgun charged towards Malcolm and fired twice at him at point-blank range. When he fell on the floor, two other men with guns came and charged at him and started emptying their guns on him, just blasting. When it was over, they had escaped, but one of them, named Thomas Hagen, whose Arabic name was Mujahid Abdul Halim, was later caught and beat up by Malcolm's followers, who wanted revenge against him until the police came to arrest him. Two other gunmen will later be identified. They were all convicted and sentenced to life in prison. Malcolm was rushed to the hospital with over 20 gunshot wounds, but was pronounced dead on arrival. 6 days later, on February 27th, Malcolm's funeral was held in New York City with Ossie Davis giving a eulogy. I'm about to play that right now.
At this final hour, in this quiet place, Harlem has come to bid farewell to one of its brightest hopes, extinguished now and gone from us forever. For Harlem is where he worked and where he struggled and fought. There are those who will consider it their duty as friends of the Negro people to tell us to revile him, to flee even from the presence of his memory, to save ourselves by writing him out of the history of our turbulent times. Many will ask what Harlem finds to honor in this stormy, controversial, and bold young captain, and we will smile. Many will say, turn away from this man, for he is not a man, but a demon, a monster, a subverter, and an enemy of the black man. And we will smile. They will say that he is of hate, a fanatic, a racist, who can only bring evil to the cause for which you struggle. And we will answer and say unto them, did you ever talk to Brother Malcolm? Did you ever touch him or have him smile at you? Did you ever really listen to him? Did he ever do a mean thing? Was he ever himself associated with violence or any public disturbance? For if you did, you would know him. And if you knew him, you would know why we must honor him. Malcolm was our manhood, our living black manhood. This was his meaning to his people. And in honoring him, we honor the best in ourselves. However much we differed with him, or with each other about him and his value as a man, let his going from us serve only to bring us together now. Consigning these mortal remains to earth, the common mother of all, secure in the knowledge that what we place in the ground is no more now a man, but a seed, which, after the winter of discontent, will come forth again to meet us, and we shall know him then for what he was and is, a prince, our own black shining prince, who did not hesitate to die because he loved us so.
Anytime you beg another...
Malcolm is interred at the Ferncliff Cemetery in Hartsdale, New York. This video was intended to pay tribute to the late Malcolm X, or Alhaj Malik El-Shabazz, on his 100th birthday. In my Demise of Malcolm X's Family video, towards the end of that video, I had shouted out these two books by him that I have. The first one is called Growing Up X, which is a memoir written by his third eldest daughter, Ilyasa Shabazz, and her family's upbringing being Malcolm X's daughter. It's a really good book. You can get it on Amazon. And then I got this from Barnes & Noble called Seventh Child, which is his nephew's memoir. written by his nephew, Rodnell Collins. And that talked about being Malcolm X's nephew. Both of these are really good books. You can get these online. I got this off of Amazon, and this one at Barnes & Noble. So that's how you can get it if you're interested. I'll leave the links in the description. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and even hit the bell notifications so you can always be notified whenever I post a video. Happy posthumous 100th birthday to the legendary Malcolm X, El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz. Okay, that's it for the video. Bye.